your radio show. It is Tuesday, and my apologies for not being with you yesterday. Yesterday was the day of the funeral for my mother-in-law, for Lana's mom, Eunice. So we had that graveside service yesterday morning, and thank you to everyone that came and attended. Thank you for the cards and the notes and the well wishes. We've read all of the notes, whether it was at Terpening's website or on the KSVP Facebook page. I think we've read all the notes. And, of course, the cards that have come in the mail and the other nice gifts that have come by. So we really do appreciate that. And the weather was perfect. It was a beautiful day. I think the only thing that really was a little bit disappointing, there were an awful lot of flies. And I was talking with the pastor before the service, and I said, I wish we could do something about the flies. And he said, well, unless they have an invitation, they're not supposed to be here. I said, well, we'll see what we can do about that. But for those that may have missed it, it's a week ago Tuesday, Eunice passed away. She had suffered a stroke on Sunday, week ago Sunday, and passed away from that last Tuesday. And we had the funeral service graveside yesterday in Roswell. So, but now we move on. We've been talking about things. You know, everybody gets into a routine. Everybody gets into a, at this time you do this, on this day you do this. Everybody, all of us, we're creatures of habit. All of us. We comment on, we think about pets being creatures of habit. Really, humans are no different. If anything changes from the routine that we have adopted, we get irritated and upset sometimes. We're not very good at adapting to and accepting change. And change is something that in many cases is not a bad thing. Sometimes change is good. I think about when they redid the J.J. Clark, the one-ways, and they added the bike lanes, and they moved the parking, and made it one lane of parking and then the bike lanes and one lane of traffic. And people just screamed at how horrible and terrible it was. Why would they do that? There was nothing wrong with how those things were lined out. Now it's been a couple of years. We've all gotten used to it, and I think people are, for the most part, satisfied with the changes that were made. Some changes you wonder if they are going to stick or not. This year will be the second year Art in a Park is out at J.C. Park. And for as long as anybody can remember, Art in the Park, with the exception of 1 or 2 years, was held at Central Park in downtown Artesia. But last year it was moved out to J.C. Park. It's going to be out at J.C. Park again this year. Are we going to adapt to the change and recognize the positives of it, or are we going to continue to have issues with it? For us, we were kind of commenting on this in the last year, and all families go through this, so I don't mean to make it sound like, gosh, we're having to deal with this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, everybody has to deal with these things. You get used to certain things. And it started, I guess, about 1.5 years ago. We had a dog, we had a beagle, and we had joint custody of the beagle. Me and Lana and I would have the dog in the evenings and the overnights, and Eunice would have the dog during the day. We'd bring the dog to her, and they would sit there on the sofa and watch the TV, and Eunice really appreciated having that dog with her. But Eunice was older, and the dog was rambunctious, and the thought of her walking the dog was just a little concerning. And so we said, no, let us, we'll walk the dog, we'll keep the dog at night. That way you don't have to be drug across the parking lot when the dog sees something and goes crazy. Well, the dog passed away, as dogs do, and we did not replace the dog. Talked about it, but, all of us were older and training a puppy and going through that whole thing was kind of terrible. But that was a routine that changed. Another routine that changed was a little over a year ago when Rush Limbaugh passed away. And you go, well, Rush Limbaugh, what's it got to do with anything? Well, for us, for me and for Lana, it was part of our daily routine. We'd get to around lunchtime, and we would go take a break from everything. We'd go sit back in the break room back here at the radio station and for lunch, and we'd have the phone or the radio, and we'd listen to 45 minutes or an hour of what Rush Limbaugh thought about the news of the day. Didn't get a chance to listen much in the first hour or the third hour because we were busy working. But that 12 o'clock hour or that 11 o'clock hour or 11 o'clock hour into the 12 o'clock hour was kind of important. He passes away. Nothing wrong with Clay and Buck. They're doing a good job. I enjoy listening to Clay and Buck, but I haven't gotten to the point that Clay and Buck, I got to listen to Clay and Buck at lunch. You know, I do, but it's not like, you know, why are you calling me? Rush Limbaugh's on. Why do you need help now? Rush Limbaugh's on. You know, we haven't gotten to that point yet with Clay and Buck. And I guess the third thing, because everything's in threes, most of the time when Lon and I sat down to lunch, it was to eat something that Eunice had cooked. Because that's what Eunice loved to do. Eunice loved to cook. She loved to cook and she loved to bake. Didn't eat hardly anything that she cooked or baked, but she loved to cook and she loved to bake. And so that was another part of our daily routine. Lana would go and pay a visit in the morning, make sure everything's okay, and then pick up today's lunch. And then Lana and I would sit down, and whether it was the salmon or the casserole or whatever it was that Eunice had prepared, we would sit down. That would be part of our routine. And now that's not going to happen. That's going to change. So many people that we talked to that commented, a lot of people didn't know Eunice. They knew Eunice through this program and me talking about her. But some of you did know Eunice and had met her. When they were younger, they did a little more out and about than they did when she got older. And she loved to bake cookies and cupcakes, and there was always a request from time to time for cookies or cupcakes from Eunice. And she would make out her list, and Lana would go to the grocery store and get all the stuff, and then she would lay everything out, and she would cook or bake whatever it was that was on the menu for that day. And she had her routine. So, you know, so those are things that change. Those are things that we all have to deal with and adapt to. And of course, you always remember the good things, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to remember the good things. You shouldn't remember the bad things. But we're going to remember the good things, and we really do appreciate the thoughts, the texts, and the cards and the comments posted on the website stuff. We really do appreciate it. We do, and she will be missed, and we will have to figure out who's going to cook lunch and what we're going to do for lunch every day, or what we're going to snack on the weekends, because we never could eat everything during the week, and so we always had a stockpile of snacks for the weekend. You know, one of the funny things, this is one of the reasons why we called her Princess Eunice of Canyonstone, was because she did not want leftovers. She didn't want them in her fridge. She didn't want to think about it. She didn't want to eat them. And that was one of the things that Lana and Eunice would argue about quite frequently, was the concept of leftovers. I don't have a problem with leftovers. I enjoy leftovers, you know. At a certain point, leftovers become garbage, but there's that period of time before they turn that there's nothing wrong with some warmed up food that was originally made a few days ago. Nothing wrong with that. Leftovers are good. Sometimes you can dig stuff out of the freezer. I remember when we had this. So, all right, but thank you, everyone. We really do appreciate it. And we'll, Lon and I will be working on what we're going to have for lunch now. We're fine. Don't, we, we will, matter of fact, Lon tells me there's a lot of stuff still in the fridge. So I think we're going to be okay.